Hello everybody. I have this Cisco wireless router that I'm using in bridged mode with my residential gateway to extend the Wi-Fi coverage in my house. And recently this modem appears not to be working properly. So I figured out what it is, and perhaps this will help you save a little money and not go out and buy a new wireless router when you don't need to. So I've disconnected the power, and let me just show you what happens. You can see that the Cisco logo is no longer illuminated. So when I power up the router, all the lights come on. It sort of goes through its startup routine and tries to connect. Everything seems to be working normally here at this point. But eventually the lights go out in the back. This light is still on, but it appears that there's no connection. So I tried to reset this. I tried to reset the thing back to factory defaults, done a lot of different things, but could not get the router to stay on. So after much network diagnosis, checking the integrity of this connection, this Ethernet connection, back to my residential gateway, I finally determined that there's nothing wrong with the wireless router. The problem is in this wall wart power supply. Looks like this power supply is rated 12 volts 1 amp with the center pin positive. So I went and looked at my spare power supplies, and I happen to have this Netgear one here, and this Netgear supply says it's also 12 volts 1 amp, and the center pin is positive. So provided the plug here is the same dimensions as the other one, it should work just fine. You can always use a DC power supply with a higher amp rating. So if you happen to have one that says 1.2 amps or 1.5 amps or even 2 amps, you could use that. You just can't use a supply that's less. Just make sure it's 12 volts DC. Let me show you my voltage reading on my defective power supply. 8.2 volts. So 8.2 volts on my defective supply. And for my replacement supply, I'm reading 14 volts. So 14 volts, no load. It's not really an issue here. As you can imagine, 8 volts is insufficient to adequately power up this wireless router. So if I've installed my backup power supply, my new replacement power supply, the unit powers up nicely, all the lights fire up, and they stay on, and I'm able to see the SSID of this wireless router, which I could not do before. I was not able to see the SSID, which meant that the wireless router was not transmitting, but it's transmitting fine now. Before you do anything, if you're having issues with your wireless router, check the voltage on your power supply with a simple voltmeter. So thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or informative, how about a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.